Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Zwift Community Live broadcast of the Dig Deep Coaching Virtual Grand Tour. Stage 1 today, we are in conjunction with the Tour de France throughout the entirety of that Grand Tour. We'll be having rides out on Zwift that are featuring workouts that are specifically trying to target what the critical moments will be in the Tour de France stages to try and get the wins. Today is stage 1, and it is a sprinter stage out there. So the workout that people are going to be completing, that we're going to be talking about as they go through it, is going to be a sprinter's workout. I got along with me Mr. Stephen Gallagher. He's going to be joining me. He's the one behind the entirety of this virtual Grand Tour, actually, and got this all set up. So let's go ahead and welcome Stephen into the broadcast. Stephen, how's it going?
Very good, very good. Happy to be here. Looking forward to a fun 3 weeks. So, yeah, apologies, I'm not on my bike today. I will be. I should be next time.
So
So
next time
suffering
we're
with
gonna have
everybody else,
heavy
but
breathing. He's promising heavy breathing and and lots of
yeah,
sweat next time. So no, no, I'm just kidding. So
yeah,
so let's talk a little bit like general real quickly because people might be wondering what is happening here. Usually we're doing race broadcasts or we're talking about events and something that's going on with some sort of event in game. Right now we're in a mode that a lot of times people might not see and don't know actually exists in Zwift. For those who aren't familiar with it, this is workout mode. And we're actually in a workout with a bunch of other individuals all on course here that are going to be doing the exact same workout and the together in this workout mode, in this group workout. And you actually wrote this one specifically for a sprinter's course, it looks like. As you can see, the on the left-hand side of the screen here, you have the entirety of the workout that you're going to be doing if you were a part of the workout mode here. And it is actually based off of your FTP, your functional threshold power. So this workout then is actually designed so that you will have to put excuse me, the workout mode is what I'm after here, is actually designed so that everybody is doing the same thing but maybe at different powers. And that's the cool thing
yeah,
about group workout mode, is that even if you're at a different fitness level than everybody else around you, you still are going to
yeah,
get the same experience as everybody else around you. And actually, with what we're doing here, you're actually experiencing something similar to what the critical moments are in the Tour de France, because it's simply just a percentage of your FTP or Kittle's FTP or Mark Cavendish's FTP or whoever it is. It's simply a conjunction or a similarity to what those individuals did in those winning moves for the Tour de France to throw down those percentages of their FTP to get the win. Is that right, Stephen?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's relevant. It's relative to your fitness. I mean, it's relative to the effort that you can do at that percentage. And that's the beauty of doing something in percentages, that we can take the same, physiological stress that one guy who's a pro tour rider is going to be under, to the same to, your everyday cyclist. And I think that's the beauty with doing something as a percentage of FTP. Where obviously, where you go into watts per kilo, where you're, talking into the race side of things, it's a lot more different, because obviously, we can't, most of us mere mortals can't compete with the watts per kilo of what the actual the pros are doing. So, but we can replicate the effort, and we can get the benefits from doing these sorts of efforts and this sort of replication to our own fitness. And what we're doing over these sort of 3 weeks is we are basically role playing each day a different scenario. So we're looking at today, obviously, we're looking at a sprinter. So today you're going to be a sprinter, which we'll go in depth about later on. We're going to talk about the efforts that riders do, actually real life, real actual data that we've looked at from the past Tour de France stages, and and why I've built it into this workout. But today you're going to be doing that. Other days you're going to be doing the early breakaway. Other days you're going to be the GC rider. Other days you're going to be the climber, the domestic. And we've boxed off them personas and used that intensity that we have seen over the years and the data that we have looked at over the years to actually build workouts that is relative to what riders would be doing at particular times of the Tour de France. And I mean, we can't sit here and ride for 5 hours. I know maybe some people might want to ride for 5 hours. But
I
we're not going
know
to do
I
that.
know a few.
Yeah, yeah. So it won't be me. But yeah. So we're trying to make it as relative as possible, and get people to understand the type of efforts and the type of training that is going on, or the type of performance in the races that is actually going on during the day. So whenever you are watching it today, obviously the tour hasn't started yet. It's starting in a couple of hours. So we're going to be seeing more than likely a bunch kick today. That's what we're doing today. We're replicating the bunch sprinter, and other days we're going to be doing, obviously, the climber. We're going to be doing the GC rider, and it's going to be a completely different workout. It's going to be a completely different type of effort, and we're going to talk about them as it goes along, and the physiological adaptations, why you'd want to do it, what's happening in the tour, what potentially has happened in the stage that day, and then make it relative to you. So yeah, we've spent a long time doing this. We've a long time doing it, and maybe one other thing, just on the climbs, not so much today. We've actually looked at the majority of the Strava times on every segment. So basically, the biggest hills, the cobble sections, even the last 2-3 kilometer lead-ins, if it's happened in another race. We have taken many hours looking at the Strava segments. We've built them particular times, the fastest time of each Strava segment, into our workouts. So it's not just a normal time. We've actually deliberately built these times into these workouts to totally replicate what the guys will be doing in the tour.
So, real quickly, on the next up, we're gonna have a 360 for 30 seconds here in just a second, actually. So
Yeah.
that's gonna be called for now. We can talk about what we're simulating in this first couple of efforts in just a second. But I want to let everybody know, if they do have questions, you can bring them on over. You can get interactive with us, actually, and you can bring them. You can see, as Zwift Community Live actually they tweeted out themselves there. It looks like at Z Community Live, though, is what you do on Twitter. On Facebook, you can also find us at Zwift Community Live. You can comment directly on the Facebook post actually, and interact with us there. Ask any questions of myself or Steven, as much as you would like, specifically about the Tour de France, what you think about the stage today, what you think about the workout that is being completed, or anything that's related to what's going on today, what's going on with Zwift and the workout that we're seeing. Bring it on in. We're gonna have some graphics up here in just a moment as well, on some of the past tour efforts, actually, that are pretty interesting relating to this. So go ahead, bring in your interaction. We'll interact with you as much as possible. Steven, quickly, some people might be like, so what, first of all, you talked about having some information from the riders, right? And so I think a lot of times people are like, so what qualifies you to talk about this? And maybe give us a little bit of your background in cycling, and then maybe we'll talk a little bit about the access that is being given to be able to see these numbers, and how that's happening.
Okay. Well, I mean, my probably background is I used to race internationally and as a professional rider for about 8 years in Europe. So I was fortunate enough to do and suffer along the roads of Europe and elsewhere for a long time. And from that, then we obviously, we're a global coaching company with up to 16 coaches based all around the world, and we're very fortunate to have that that sort of expertise within our team. And then it brings a lot of different ideas and different modes to our team. So we're able to get build on that experience and use that for stuff like this here. For stuff like projects that we're doing with Zwift. I also have spent many years with my other colleagues at Dig Deep Coaching, working with some of the biggest publications in cycling to do analysis of stage races like the Tour de France and one-day races, notably so with Training Peaks. So most of you will know the Training Peaks, the online platform for data analysis and certainly for coaches. So we've done a lot of the power analysis, if you've ever seen, with Training Peaks over the past number of years. We've done all of that. We worked in the Tour de France last year. Every day we've done an in-depth analysis, really, of the Tour de France. We also work with Cycling Tips. So you might see our data from, the Grand Tours or the classics and whatnot. So we're very fortunate some teams allow us to have their data. We're able to do analysis, put it out into a format that hopefully is digestible for the people that are into power and people that aren't into power, and allow appreciation of the effort of what these guys are doing.
Let's talk a little bit about power and like what is going on in games. So we have a lot of questions actually over on Mixer right now. About 63 viewers over on Mixer. Maybe some new people that are sharing it up to their friends over on Facebook, Twitch, or YouTube. And if you are new to the world of Zwift or the world of cycling, you might be interested, like, well, what does power have to do with this? What does watts have to do with this? How is this even working with watts? So maybe could you give us like a very simple layman's terms, before we get, because there's a lot of work out here to go, and we'll get into the nitty gritty of how this stage is won, maybe a little bit later into this 3 minutes efforts that we're seeing over here. Give us a super layman's, like, what is power? What does watts have to do with anything in cycling?
Well, watts is basically really the only way for us to be very specific in the effort that's being produced. Historically, heart rate has been a gauge for the strain that your body's under. But of course, there's lots of factors that can cause, a strain on your body, heat, stress, etc., etc. But the force that's being applied by each person can only really be specifically justified or specifically, detailed by a power meter. And a power meter is obviously a device on a bike that allows us to put force through and records that actual power. And that can be relative between each person. Okay, so each person, you can be completely relative.
That's measured in watts. That's measured. Measured in watts by these power meters. And on the screen, when you're seeing this 360 watts, these individuals, and these are all real individuals in Zwift, they're measuring and pushing their avatars forward at the speed that they would be, kind of like in real, as close as we can get with the algorithms to what it would be like in real life with the wattages that they're putting out right now in game. So go ahead, Stephen. Sorry for interrupting you. I just want to make sure people understood, though, that was the measurement of power, like you would be lifting weights, like pounds or kilograms. I lifted this much pounds or kilograms. I'm putting out this much watts to push this avatar forward.
Yeah, and watts, again, we're talking about like your light bulb watts. It's the power that's being generated to power that, and it's exactly the same. The power that we as humans are generating, or the effort that we're generating through our bikes, and that's measured through a number of different systems. And then that's obviously goes into a computer and a head unit, and that's completely measurable, and it's completely relative, and it takes out a lot of the environmental aspects of performance, so nervousness, to stress, etc., that can have an effect on your body, but not on the effect of the force that's being applied. So what we're recording and what each person in the Tour de France is recording, we can make that relative to the normal cyclist, which is exactly what we're doing here today. We're making that power relative from the Tour de France riders to the everyday cyclist, because we've got access and we can see that data. It's real-time effort, and we can then apply it to obviously workouts and our own training, etc., etc. So
I did see a couple more questions come through about what is this, and this is, again, this is group workout mode. So you guys know, a lot of times there's races, there's free riding, massive multiplayer online game. You can jump in, do free riding. You can jump in and do events where everybody just rides together for fun. There's events where people are riding back and forth against each other for fun in the event, where it's kind of more of like a group ride with a couple of efforts. Then there's also straight up races. And right now in group workout mode, everyone's doing the same workout that Dig Deep Coaching has designed here. And we're getting right into it a little bit here. Today we do not have obviously the data or the stage done, because we are going live earlier in order for people on the weekends to get their workouts in like they like to at a certain time of day, specifically kind of aimed at Europe, obviously, because it's 3 a.m. here in the USA. But it's earlier workouts on the weekends. But during the week, we will actually have the stage done and be able to look at what kind of efforts were put out there in order to get the stage done for those critical moments, and look back at what happened during the stage throughout the next 3 weeks of the Tour de France, and compare it to the virtual Grand Tour workouts that we're doing right now. So what are we getting into right now? This is the profile. Let's look at the profile. Here's the course profile for today's Tour de France stage 1. And it looks like we're getting to a 240 watts. Where are we right now in this, this workout?
So we're probably about as far as left of the screen as you can see, right at the start. So we're just basically a real steady start to the stage. You know, we're rolling out of the race village. Everything's pretty calm. The proverbial is about to hit the fan whenever the guys are going to start attacking. But obviously today we're a bunch sprinter, so it's not your job to be the guy that's doing the early attacks. Otherwise, you'd be, you know, getting ready for some top heavy efforts. So we're
But
going to
why are
spend
we a
three
bunch
minutes
sprinter
just.
today? Why are we a bunch sprinter today? Just wondering, like, what was
So
the idea there?
so today, obviously, it's you know, I think from the majority of people obviously assume it's going to be a bunch finish, and I thought, well, there's no better way to start a 3 weeks Grand Tour than with a victory. So I thought, well, let's not give yourself a headache in the first 10 minutes of the ride. So you know, let's win the stage. So that's the reason why we're going stage one. We're in the bunch sprint. We're going to start out on top and set a precedent for the next 3 weeks. So yeah, we're going to start pretty steady. Things are going to start ramping up. Again, normally the effort obviously ramps up when the early attacks really start. Even if you're in the peloton, not trying to attack or not trying to follow wheels, dude, you still got to ride at your threshold, because that bunch is going to be riding at, you know, 50k an hour, 60k an hour, you know, with the guys trying to go off, and that's in the first 5k's, 10 kilometers.
So this is the first 5K, 10 kilometers.
So
because
yeah,
people are
this
trying
is
to
us.
go off the front, things get really fast. Like,
Yeah, it's going to ramp
even
up.
in the pack,
Yeah,
and you're just looking for wheels at this point, if I'm not incorrect,
yeah,
to make sure
yeah,
that you're hidden. And is your team around you then, keeping you safe? Is that the
yeah,
whole idea? And do you have actually
yeah.
like people at this point who are assigned to you that are watching?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I mean, obviously, let's call it the babysitting of the team leader is probably more, you know, more specific as the race goes along. You know, if anything does happen now, you know, you've got a lot of time to the finish. But still, you know, they're still being watched out. They're making sure that they don't have an accident, don't have a crash. You know, again, the pace is going to start ramping up pretty quick. You can see here we're going to start getting up into, you know, a wee bit of threshold. So the attacks are going to start. You know, you even sitting in the bunch, you're going to have to ramp it up a wee bit. So if you lose the wheel now, or if you have a puncture or you have a crash in the actual race, you know, you're going to have to come back pretty quick. So you're going to want teammates around you pretty quick. So yeah, you're going to have your minders close to you. So guys like Cavendish, Cattell, Sagan today, you know, they're going to be
Yeah,
cruising.
let's
This
talk
is, you know,
favorites. Let's talk. So who are these favorites? Who are we acting like right now? Would you say, in your estimation, for this this first stage of the tour?
uh, I would say like a Cavendish. I think, you know, probably my prediction. Again, I'm not putting money on this, but somebody like, you know, somebody like Cav today, maybe Sagan. I think maybe Cavendish might be a wee bit more suited to this finish today. So so basically, that's what we're trying to do.
A
And
Greipel, maybe a Kittle. Anybody else?
Kittle.
No, not so much.
Yeah, Kittle. Yeah, I don't know. He's yeah, he hasn't shown too much Formula on, but you know, we seen a couple of years ago he pretty much wiped the floor with everybody. So
Yeah. So
I
we'll have to see
wouldn't
what the
I wouldn't.
challenges are. We are getting
Yeah, we
actually
have
a
to
comment
see.
from
Yeah,
somebody you might know. I have a power meter myself recently, but recently I've noticed it doesn't read as high as it used to. Do you know why this
yeah,
is, please? From Dan Fleeman coming through
yeah,
with a comment there.
yeah. So I think the main reason for that, Dan, is because he's obviously recently retired from racing and has realised what it's like to join a group ride only doing, you know, 4 hours a week in training. So unfortunately, Dan, things are only going to get worse for you. So
Things are only going to get worse, Tom.
yeah,
Sorry about
yeah,
that.
it's downward slope.
Nothing's wrong with the
Uh,
power meter, it sounds like there, Fleeman. So
no, no,
good to see him
he
joining the
does like his
podcast there.
excuses. Yeah, he does like his excuses. So yeah,
Right
it's all
on.
good.
So
But
okay, we did ramp it up now a little bit. It looks like we're at 240, 270, 300, 270. Okay, now we're in the threshold area. Now, so for those of you who
yeah,
haven't seen workout mode before on Zwift, this is when you see the yellow, that is when we've gone into the threshold numbers, right? So the riders we're watching right now, Kim Little, we can see here 5.5 watts per kilogram right now. Looks like that's right around what his threshold-ish is. Or is this just a little bit under threshold? Are we like 95% right
No,
now or
no,
so?
no.
Or
You're
right
you're
on?
no, you're nearly right on. You're about 100% of your FTP here now. So, the pace is ramping up a wee bit. The break is going, so the pace is still high. So it's going to be another 3 minutes until the bunch sort of takes a break, settles down, and there's going to be a wee bit of tranquilo before the real racing starts at the end. So yeah, right at the minute, it's probably the fastest part of the early stage attack. So yeah, it's gonna kick off a wee bit now in the next minute or two. So and then it's gonna calm down, and then all hell's gonna break loose later on. So don't
Gotcha. So
worry.
this is just what needs to happen to stay with the group then as the break
Exactly.
gets away. And you as a sprinter
Yeah.
are just waiting, essentially. Like, can you guys
Yeah.
just go already? Get your break over
Yeah.
with?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't need to waste too much energy, and you're trying to
Yeah.
not waste as much energy as possible at this point is what it sounds like.
Absolutely. And some of the hardest races that you see, and whenever we talk to riders or you see interviews with some riders, they'll say the hardest races, the hardest stages are those stages that takes the longest for the early break to go. And the reason for that is a lot of guys who don't want to be in the break, they basically just want the break to go early so the bunch can settle down and ride tranquilo, ride easy, and then ramping up. But if the break doesn't go early, it means this section that we're at now, we've done 3 minutes, 1 minute, 3 minutes at threshold. Instead of it being for 20 minutes in a real race, it goes for an hour, and that's just not nice. It's just not nice. So
why does something like that happen? What's the like? Is
well,
is it teams just have different ideas in their head about what's going to be
yeah,
happening that day, and it's just like,
yeah,
no, we're going to chase down everything because whatever. Or are
yeah.
some teams like trying to just make it hard for the sprinters sometimes, or like what's the
No,
situation?
normally, if a break doesn't go early, usually means that there's a lot of riders and a lot of teams want to get in it, and the mix of that early breakaway has to be perfect. Okay, so maybe a lot of teams aren't okay. We know we have got it in the bag later on in the race, so we're not worried about the early breakaway. But especially as the Tour de France goes on, it's going to be more and more riders want to get into the breakaway because it's their only opportunity for that team to maybe get a result. Obviously, the stress coming towards the last week or 2 weeks of the race is like, dudes, we got to get in this break. We got to get a result. We haven't done so well in that first week. So there's going to be more and more guys wanting to get in the break, which means it's longer for the potential break to go away. I mean, I think
So
if
it
we're
just
seeing in
keeps getting
stage,
chased down because so many people just want to be a part of
yeah,
that, and so it just
just
keeps
the
getting
mix
chased
isn't
down,
right.
keeps getting
Yeah,
chased down over and over and over again.
yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah. The
So
mix isn't
earlier
right.
on, unless it's planned, it's kind of like, we got lots of opportunities. It's the first day, let it go. Not that big of a deal.
Yeah,
But what you're saying is it gets more intense later on.
yeah, yeah. It gets more intense, and a great example was in the Giro d'Italia this year. I think it was stage 18 or 19, one of the big mountain days. I think it might have been the Zoncolan stage, and the feedback we seen from the riders and some of the data we seen, that I think it took nearly 1 hour for the break to go away. Now, bearing in mind they had a lot of climbing at the end of the stage. These guys had to, hit over these 20k climbs, 15k climbs. So they knew not only was it painful at the start, the break wouldn't go, but also it was going to be really painful at the end. So yeah, it just wasn't enjoyable and just makes it hard. So you can see
Those
now
who
where,
are commenting, just so you know, we didn't have Steven on a bike today. I wanted to make sure I logged in as ride leader with him. So those of you who are saying that whoever we're watching is riding like a robot, it's actually an avatar we are following along who's riding like a robot. This is not actual power from an actual rider right now on the avatar that's riding along as a ride leader. We had to get somebody into the program. So when you're in workout mode but you're observing other individuals, you see your own power at the top of the screen. You don't see the other individual's power, right? So if I go back to me, you see the same power, but no heart rate, no cadence. because this is power being generated by a computer for this specific avatar right now. The rest of these riders are putting out real power, but we do not see their power because it's workout mode. And in workout mode, if you went and clicked on another avatar, you would no longer see the power that you need to see that the workout is telling you to do at that moment. So that's why you're seeing what you're seeing. I did see that comment coming from Pete Donahue from Zwift Fitness saying, ride like a robot there. That's because it is a robot. So you know, so you know. We had to get something in game to stay with the rest of the riders, but I appreciate the comment there for sure.
I'm not usually
why
that
are
good.
things calmed down at this point? It looks like the breakaways got away 2:10, 10 minutes. What's a sprinter thinking about from here until things start ramping? It looks like in about 8 minutes or so, we start getting into those final Ks. So where are we right now on the stage? And then maybe we can also take a look at a few of the other graphics for how people won stages like this in the past.
Okay, so we're completely mid-pack really now, or mid-stage. So we're in around that sort of 79 to 119K mark. I'm assuming at this stage that the early break is going to be probably 5 minutes in front. 6 minutes in front, maybe. You know, it's enough time, give them a bit of a leash that discourages other guys to go across. If the break is too close, the mindset of some of the guys in the bunch are like, yeah, we can still jump across that. So you want to get that gap out as far as possible, that it discourages the teams, some riders you might want to get across, but not that far that whenever you start pulling at the front, that to bring that break back for the bunch sprint, that it's not so big that you don't need to expend some energy. So right now, settle down. It's like I say,
sweet spot. I've always been really interested in like what's too much and what's not, because some days it's like it goes way out and it's like, dude, that's never coming back, and it totally comes back. And then other days it stays like they just let them dangle there with that 1 to 2, and that almost seems more dangerous. And people start like attacking because they feel like they can get across. You know what I mean? So it seems like there's this sweet spot of a certain tempo that you set. And have you been a part of races where you set a certain tempo, and that's your job, kind of a thing?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the amount of, I suppose, rope that you would give the lead group, the amount of time that you would give them, really comes down to a lot of factors. Like weather is a big one. So the wind, obviously the course, and obviously the team that you have on that day. So if years gone past, if we're in a really strong team, it's a bit of a headwind. The break has got 4 minutes. We know whenever we start riding full gas, we're going to come back. We're going to come back pretty quick. If it's a tailwind, and it's a twisty course, it's very, it's hard to get the cohesion in the bunch. It's hard to get the momentum going a little bit more, especially if you're going through towns and villages, where a breakaway a lot of times can go through them villages and towns as quick as a bunch, because they can take the corners quick, because they can go around roundabouts as quick. So if it's a big, long, straight roads, there's no obstacles going on or whatever that may be. It's pretty simple for the peloton behind, especially if it's a bit of a headwind where, the guys in front, if there's 3 or 4, they're going to tire real quick. But if it's tailwind, it's twisty. There's a lot of towns coming up. You don't want to give these guys too much. So and you got to remember, the managers in the cars behind, they know the wind direction, they know what's coming up. They've got televisions in the team cars, they can see what's going on in the race. They know exactly what it's looking like. They can see the faces of the guys in the break, and they can see how much they're hurting. So they're feeding back to their guys sitting at the front of the bunch, saying, okay, listen, let's cut it off a wee bit. And what you also see is bunches starting to catch the riders, and they're like, uh-oh, we're getting too close, and they back off. So they deliberately back off. So they're like, okay, we don't want to catch these guys too quick. So normally 10Ks to go, 12Ks to go, it starts to close up. So at this point in time, it's the shutdown. We're letting that break get out. You'll see, after this 10 minutes, we start to ramp up. The next sort of 5 minutes and 2 minutes, the pace is starting to ramp up as we're pulling the brake back, and then that's the real work really starts after that. So, which we'll go into then. But yeah, we're taking it calm, but don't be fooled into thinking it's going to be easy. So it's only going to get harder.
This looks pretty hard. It looks like it's all at the end, but it looks very hard.
Yeah.
I mean, we have similar FTPs right now, and 750 is quite an effort for 15 seconds, and then 1050. I have a feeling
Yeah.
you're a little taller than I am, actually. Just looking at oh my goodness. So
Yeah. Yeah.
the other thing I wanted to ask you about though specifically was looking at the stage profile for today. That little
Hmm.
S there. It's always been really
Yeah.
interesting to me is that they put
Yeah.
these in these sprint stages and none of
Yeah.
the sprinters go for them. Like
Well,
because the
well,
points are gone and the breakaway got
yeah.
them. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like what's
That's
the
right. That's right.
situation there?
And so the intermediate sprints obviously have, or accumulate to points that goes towards the green jersey. Exactly how many? I think it's maybe top seven, top eight. There's points for top seven. I need to find out exactly. So depend on how many is in the early break. Obviously warrants the effort that you would do during the stage. What you will find is a lot of teams and a lot of riders are quite different in their approach to it. They can go for all the intermediate sprints and use up a lot of energy and then come to the finish and they'll only finish third, but they could still accumulate a lot of points on that day. Or you might get some guy who's like, okay, I'm going to, I don't feel that great today. I know I'm going to come better later in the race. I'm not going to chance it going for the intermediate sprint. I'm just going to put all my eggs in one basket at the end. And, sometimes it pays off. The flip side is, you might lose some of the potential points you could get on the, on the intermediate sprint. But, generally you get a lot more points, obviously, for winning a
How
stage or
many are
coming top
usually in a
five of the
breakaway
stage.
though? I mean, we're usually looking at what, like 5 to 10.
4,
Usually they
5,
get eaten
yeah.
up. They usually get eaten up pretty good. And
Yeah,
so the sprinter's jersey is an interesting one to me always because it seems to me, that's the point that we're at in the race. We're talking about that. It looks like they're going to be going
yeah.
through, how do we say that? La Tranche-sur-Mer? Is that going to be? I'm
Uh,
horrible with my
La
French.
Tranche-sur-Mer,
There we go. There
yeah.
we go. So,
Yeah, that's it's quite funny. I used to go there on holidays as a kid. I did. That's yeah.
That's
There we go.
hilarious.
I would
And
say
that's where
that.
the
Yeah, I
sprint's going.
did.
That's
Yeah,
where the first sprint is going to be for the
yeah,
points in the.
yeah,
And so the tactic a lot of times seems that if you are going for the sprinter's jersey and the break and you're not in the breaks, you're putting a lot of chips into winning stages because they're worth a lot more. Is that kind of how it's
yeah,
working out
yeah.
there?
That's right. Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So you're putting your chips into that, and obviously you want to make sure that you're fresh enough, and also to go to these intermediate sprints, you'll see some of the guys have lead outs. They won't have a full lead out, but they'll have a pretty good lead out going into it. And you're using up a lot of energy of your team riders there, your teammates as well. That again, you need your team at a full gas, being able to going into the finish. So sometimes maybe some teams don't want to have that use up the energy of their teammates for an intermediate sprint. But I suspect today, that intermediate sprint, we will see if there's maybe 4 guys at the front, 5 guys at the front, which I'm kind of presuming is going to be in the early break, that you will see quite a lot of the riders, flexing their gun to that intermediate sprint today, purely probably to, let's say, test the water to see how each other's going. But I think today we're going to get a few going for that intermediate sprint.
Really?
One thing,
Okay.
yeah, I think we'll see a few, and I think they'll put the boat out. Some guys might play a bluff as well, to sort of maybe say, okay, I'm not going that good, and then come to the finish, they're really strong. But yeah, I think we'll depend on if there is only 4 or 5 in that early break, that we'll see quite a few of the big guys going for that intermediate sprint. But I see the weather forecast for France today. It's looking really nice, very nice weather. But
That's
if
a
it's
great
windy,
segue, actually, here, real quick on that. Do you think Crossway winds will affect today's stage coming from Andy Harrison, actually?
yeah. So exactly what I was about to start talking about. Andy has been a international rider himself and has probably spent half his life in crosswinds, so he probably understands this. But yeah, if the wind is coming from the right hand shoulder today, and it is windy, it's going to be nervous. But it's by the time they get to that intermediate sprint, around that point, it starts heading inland, so the wind won't play as big an effect. coming to the last sort of maybe 40 Ks of that stage. So I don't think it's going to be too bad. It's going to make it a wee bit nervous at the start. But to be honest with you, I think a lot of people are going to want to maybe have the first stage tranquilo, as they say. They're going to want to maybe take it easy. So I don't think today, looking at the weather forecast, that it's going to have such a big factor. But if it was windy, and it can be in these, especially these next 5 or 6 days, man, it can get windy in the Vendée and in the Bretagne region of France. Anybody who's been there and it's been bad weather, man, they're in for a hard shot. Stage 5, stage 6, watch out. Yeah, I'm glad I'm not there.
Not today so much. It sounds like there, Andy. At least later on, maybe earlier on, but maybe not so much later on, where it really starts to matter, is what they were saying, what Stephen's saying here. Now, we do have some more banter coming from Dan. Stephen knows what he's talking about here. He spent many hours right on the front for me, Dan, with the shot.
Yeah. That's that's debatable. Yeah.
I love it. I love the banter. This is good stuff.
Yeah.
Let's take a look, though, at what's happening with the workout now. As 2:55, it's starting to ramp up. We're done with the 10-minute in between. So we've gone through the sections that we've gone through. It looks like we're getting into the Cat 4?
Yeah,
we're past the Cat 4 now, or where are we at?
We're just starting. No, we're just starting into that Cat 4. We're probably about, the 10Ks before it, and it's starting to ramp up. So, what's kind of happened now is you've said to your teammates, okay, we're going to need to start bringing this break back a wee bit. The maximal lead that break will have had has now gone past, so it's going to start to come down. So the pace is going to ramp up. The time's going to start to come down. So now you're bringing it down from maybe 5 minutes to 4 minutes to 3 minutes. That takes a bit of effort. Even if you're sitting in the wheels, you're going to have to start ramping up a wee bit, as well as protected as you are. The pace is going to have to ramp up a wee bit. And again, we've seen that from lots of data that we've looked at over the years, that it's the pace is going to start to ramp up here. So
And now after that, we're going to be going into 2 minutes of 270, and we're really starting to get sub threshold at that point almost. And then, you're getting into 15, 15, 15. That looks like we're starting to get into the actual finish. What is this B, though? There's a B. What is the B? I've never seen the B before. What is that all about? Is that the finish line, or is that one? Why is there a B on? Do you know what that's about? No, okay. I have no idea. Nobody knows what the B is about. There's a B on the Is that the Powerball? Like what's going on? There's some sort of new betting thing going on. I have no idea. There's a big B on the Tour de France Stage 1 profile. This is directly from the Tour de France website as well. So that's where we were able to find
the B. Profile. Oh, sorry. The B. I'm not sure. 14 minutes. B. Don't know.
Yeah,
B at the front.
That's new. Sure. I've never seen that one before.
We'll have to.
So that might be
anybody who does know, they can.
Let us know. Anybody who knows what that's all about, let us know. But we're about at that point, I would think, in the race. Are we getting about there, or where are we at?
Yeah. Maybe it's the end of the feed zone. Maybe you're not allowed to feed after that. Probably, So there's a certain place in the stages where feeding isn't. You can't take any more.
It means baguette. Get out of here, Gimlet. Are you serious?
Yeah, that's exactly what it means. Okay. It means so you gotta have your
scones. I just thought that he was looking for scones again because he likes scones so much. Coming out of the UK, he's always talking about his scones and jam
scones
and tea and things. So. So now we're getting up to 270. It's gonna be 2 minutes of 270, and then we got a lot of kicks. Yeah. And I have a feeling this is the fighting time when you're really looking for your train.
Yeah. So these kicks are all about keeping position and gaining position. So what we see a lot from a lot of top guys in the world, like last year we looked at Alexander Kristoff's power data a lot from last year.
If you look at our stage analysis. 1, or what are we looking at for that? Maybe our stage two of last year's Tour de France.
we have, you'll see this is analysis that we did last year of Alexander Kristoff, coming into the finish. You'll see here there's actually a KOM last year coming towards the finish, similar to, what we see this year, although the KOM was a wee bit further out this year. But like he was still going at 5.88 watts per kilo, 445 watts. That's not easy. Obviously ramping up towards the finish. And from that point towards the finish line, then you've got to gain position and getting into position. And the better the team that you have, the less energy that you're going to expend getting into position. But these ramps that you see, the wee jumps were going up to 700 watts of a FTP of 300. These jumps going into a high percentage of your FTP is all about getting around the rider, holding the wheel, keeping that momentum going, sitting at the front. And this is not easy. This is what a lot of people don't see or maybe look at. I mean, the amount of times that these guys need to make short accelerations in the 20 kilometers before the finish is really difficult. So they've used quite a bit of matches, and again, the best riders in the world, the best teams in the world, pretty much have the ability to chaperone their riders towards the finish using the least amount of matches possible. But today, it's the first stage. Your team isn't gelled as well as what you want to, so you're going to have to use a couple of matches here to keep your position at the front. So get ready for this year.
The averages that were thrown down at the look at this 750. Here go the riders. They're really starting to kick now. We're seeing 12 watts per kilogram, 12 watts per kilogram.
Yeah.
These riders are absolutely demolishing themselves just to hold on. And as you can see in game right now, the screen gets all crazy because it's like simulating for you if you're in workout mode, like the pain, like everything starts going blurry kind of a thing. 15 seconds on, 45 off, trying to hold position. 15 seconds on, no, not off. We're not talking off, actually. Excuse me. It's 270 at sub-threshold, 750, way into a sprint, just trying to find that position because people are fighting you elbow to elbow, right? Like, trying to get whatever wheel. And they want to steal your spot if they don't got a team train sometimes. And how much do you have to deal with that where, like, when individuals around you are looking for that, I don't know, what's a rider who we could talk about here? There's a couple. I don't know, is it McEwen maybe? Or somebody who's always able to kind of sneak in there,
Sagan. Okay, so Sagan's probably the best in the world at it. I think he ain't got maybe the best lead out train. I think it's pretty much known. But like here again, you got to jump around the guys. You've got to make that big effort to keep at the front of the bunch. If you don't make this effort now, you will not be able to use your sprint at the end. So you've got to be able to hold your position. If you can't hold your position, no matter how good you are, you're not gonna finish this off. So we'll look at Kittel last year. Kittel last year made a lot of mistakes early in the race where his team, he just wasn't able to hold the position and some of the argy-bargy that was coming into the finish. He's probably the strongest sprinter in the world if you're head to head, but he couldn't use that sprint because he wasn't able to hold his position. So right now, guys, you need to dig in here and really use that power to hold your position. So, but then you look at somebody like Sagan. He can, bounce off people. He can, do a lot of these efforts without too much impact in his final sprint. So
let's talk about the averages. So this is kind of simulating, like, we're looking at like the last 5 minutes at this point. We're like what? 3 to 5K out, something 3K out. Something like that, right?
You're about 5K out.
So and these are the attacks. It's kind of going to get solidified here in a moment about who's really at the front. Anybody who's 50 to 60 plus back is, I didn't make it. Maybe I can move up still and see what's happening. But the teams are really just driving the pace so incredibly hard at that point just to make sure only those who have made it are going to be there, and they're fighting for that position to make sure that nobody else can come around easily and they can hold that position at the front. I think a lot of people don't understand. We got a lot of new people to cycling probably watching right now. We got 137 people, live viewers over on Mixer right now that don't know a lot about the Tour de France cycling and all that kind of stuff as far as those tactics go. Why do those teams try and hold that front spot? I think they don't understand that, like, they're driving so that other teams don't take over the front and they secure that position.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So the main thing is safety, probably keeping out of crashes, being able to set your own pace, and you need to be able to unleash your final bullet at the finish without any, let's say, the least inconvenience possible. So that being taking the corner wrong, that being not being in the right position because you're held up behind too many guys. If you're at the front and you're in control of the people in front of you because you're their teammates, you dictate the pace, you dictate the speed. That means you've got, you know,
you're real quick answer.
So
because we got the last 1 minute here in a second, but how many people are needed for that kind of lead out trade?
I say at least 5 or 6.
5 or 6 guys.
If a committed team, 5 or 6. So, you know, that last 5 Ks,
like
5 or 6.
Somewhere between like 5 to 1 minute, depending on what their job is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
You
know,
all right,
so 300 watts right now, Stefan. 300 watts right now. We're going to see 375, 1050, and 900. Give me a quick explanation before we go into this and see some crazy numbers.
Okay, so we're just probably coming into about 1 kilometer to go. So you're just, the effort's solid. The pace ramps up as the last kilometer. You're going in 30 seconds, 375, 375 watts, really hard. Then you got to kick maximal for 10 seconds. That's you're going for the win, and then you're going to die off. You try and hold that pace for that last 10 seconds.
So you're over threshold for about, it looks like, 30 seconds straight to make sure you're on the exact wheel. Sitting third wheel, looks like you're 1 kilometer ago, and then you've got the biggest kick of your life that you can possibly put in so that you get the maximum amount of velocity out of that that kick. Is that the idea?
That's it. You're coming off that wheel, boom.
This is off the wheel. Nobody's in front of you any longer. Everything you got for this 10 seconds, it's you solo making it all happen.
Go. This is it. Big kick, start sprint. Now you got to go. Okay.
And what's with the 900 at the end here then? What's that all about?
This is you just trying to hold the pace. You're just going down because you've kicked so hard. You can't hold that. So yeah. So.
Gotcha. And now you cross the finish line, hands in the air, and you're doing 210 watts. Wait a second.
Yeah.
Hands in the air. You've won the stage. The sprinters, and the call here from Dig Deep is Cavendish. I don't know if there's any bias here or what's going on coming out of. No, not at all. We'll have to see. Maybe he's just a good betting man.
I think Cav has had, well, put it like this, he's either going to be first or, you know, unfortunately Cav hasn't had the best of luck this year, so hopefully he's not going to have any more crashes. I think all his bad luck's gone, so I hope it's all gone. So that's why I think maybe Cav is going to be, I think mentally he's probably ready to show himself after a bit of an unlucky year.
It's been a rough year. It's been a really rough year for him, actually. I mean, lots of injury. So we'll have to see if he can come back. I mean, he's going for some records still too. So probably motivated to grab those. Those ties.
In fact, if anybody else has predictions, I don't know if. Certainly, let's maybe see if you type in who's the most popular from anybody. Don't take it from me.
It's completely flat here. Look at that. I mean, so let's hear. You know, you got the big three. We got the big three. I mean that people are talking about for the favorites for the sprint. It's going to be obviously Kittel, Reipel,
Cav,
and Cav. That's your big three.
And
who are the outside though? I mean,
well. You'd put Sagan into that. You know, Sagan isn't.
Of course.
But you know, Sagan is a very special case because he's not just a pure sprinter. Although, if he wants to sprint, he's one of the best in the world. You've probably got Groenewegen from Lotto Jumbo. I mean, he's had a lot of upsets, so he's pretty good. Denmar, La France de Joux, who won a stage last year for the French. I think it was his first Tour de France stage win. So, you're going to have between, I would say, 5 or 6 of them guys. And really, they're the only teams I would suspect that are fully committed. I know, you know, definitely for Dimension Data, you know, they're going to have a real good lead out for Obviously for Cav, Katusha obviously are fully committed as well to having a great tour for Cattell. Sagan as well has a team very much built around them as well. So them teams, this is their prime time. This is their this is their end game really. So is this kind of stage, and there's no better way to kick off the tour than winning stage one. If you win stage one, your tail's up for the rest of the tour. So everything else follows. So yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
But I mean, like again, data we've seen from last year, stage 2 was the first bunch sprint last year with Alexander Kristoff. Yeah, you see here, like Alexander Kristoff, for those of you that are still recovering from your sprint there now, you see the last 29 seconds, he averaged 640 watts. The last 4.2 kilometers, he averaged 5.3 watts per kilo. So yeah, I mean
it's not just the kick. Like a lot of people think it's just the kick. That's all that's happening here. But there is a huge effort leading all the way into that final four. I mean, that 4.2. You said 5.3. I mean, that's crazy to put that out. Then kick into 1,248 watts after putting out 5.36 for an average throughout.
Absolutely. And it's a long day. It's a long day in the saddle, and then he's still going up to nearly 1,300 watts per kilo. But you can see like the last four kilometers, he's he's averaging 5.3 watts per kilo, which probably isn't far from his threshold. Something like that. I'd say maybe his threshold is maybe something similar, a wee bit higher than that. But so he's at his threshold as an average, but he's still got to make them big kicks going out of that there threshold. So he's just going up, hold the position just like we did, and then he's got to explode at the end. So it's
just like in the workout here. Let's take another look at that real quickly. Here's the workout on the left-hand side, and as you can see, there was this holding here that got you up in that average for this last 10 minutes or so, and then kick that really brought it up, and that's that 1050 that we saw for that Maximo. I mean, that's quite the workout. And so for those of you just tuning in, this was a group workout that you can join every day throughout the Tour de France. Virtual Grand Tour, you can replicate the critical moments that are the winning moments of the Tour de France. This is all brought to you by Dig Deep Coaching here. Virtual Grand Tour out on Zwift. We'll be here doing these out on Zwift every day throughout the tour. In the program, if you head on over to digdeepcoaching.com, you can sign up for newsletters that are going out about this. Actually, I've been getting them like crazy. They're showing me all the different reasons that we're doing this. Really great stuff. Follow them. Give them a follow over on Twitter. We are sharing their stuff on our Z Community Live as well. So, what do we got going on? What are we going to look forward to tomorrow?
So yeah, tomorrow, unfortunately, you've completely the opposite. You're in the early break tomorrow, and tomorrow that means it's a real top-heavy day. So you've got to make a lot of big efforts to try and get into a break. And whenever you try and get into an early breakaway, you just don't use one bullet. You've got to, do a number of jumps. So it's a number of hard jumps to make that early, get that gap going, and then after that. It's going to be trying to make a solid effort to extend your gap. So where it was blue today, whenever we were 10 minutes pretty steady, tomorrow you're going to be riding hard. And then you're going to ramp up towards the end, trying to hold on. It's not them big maximal anaerobic efforts, but you got to try and hold. You're talking going into threshold, up as we go along. So to try and hold on.
Tough one. That sounds like a tough one, being in the break there.
It's not.
It's going to be interesting.
It's not pretty. Yeah, it's not going to be pretty.
So it'll be good though for you. It'll be good for you. So looking through here, we can see Dan is saying Gaviria. Take the W. Good sprint. Yeah. What do you think, Stephen?
Yeah, absolutely. I think he hasn't won a stage of Tour de France, and the fast Colombian for Quick Step.
I saw him in some predictions. I saw him in some predictions. I did see him in.
That's a good one for Dan. He is useful for some things, and one of them is predictions of races. So
maybe not the domestique role. It sounded like though. So,
he was never good. He wasn't good at that.
Andy Harrison is saying so. He's all in for Cav. Want to see him break the record this year. Interesting. I think he wants to too, obviously. So I think he's gonna be motivated, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
we're seeing Kim Little with a suggestion for these workouts. ERG mode should be turned off for the really hard sprints at the end. So he's just putting a suggestion out there if you can throw. I'm not sure. I think you can program that in if you guys are. It is very difficult to sprint with ERG mode on the program for those big sprints. So that's why they have the ability to turn on and off. So good suggestion.
Thanks, Kim. Yeah, thanks.
Appreciate that. You know, Kim's the UK national champion. You know that? Out on Zwift? Yeah. He won the national championship. Him and Tom Hargreaves went toe-to-toe in the national championships this past year. And those who are asking, can you race on Zwift? Yes, you can race out on Zwift. We broadcast races like about 3 times a week right now. We do the CHOP, the Australian Down Under KISS race, as well as the KISS Europe race. So we've been after that. This will be taking precedent, these Tour de France stages. So if they do interrupt any of that, we'll cover a different race probably on the day. But all right, so we got another minute 30 or so in this workout. What are the riders thinking about? I mean, the first thing they're going to do is
the first thing you're going to do is drink and sit down, recovery drink, get into the team bus, get out of the heat, get the recovery shake in them, and hopefully, get back to the hotel as quick as possible. But it's going to be sit down, chill out.
The same thing most likely is what I mean, because if they're planning on doing all of these stages or any more of them, they probably want to go get a recovery drink in.
Yeah, you're gonna want to actually, if you sign up to our automations and Dig Deep Coaching, we've got a full race manual and an actual survival guide. What we call a survival guide, gives you tips on how to recover, the best way to use your recovery, and also pacing and whatnot over the 3 weeks. But yeah, you're gonna want to sit down after this, because you might be feeling good today, but you're not going to be feeling so good, and by next Thursday. So yeah.
And they don't have to do all of them. Now, there are prizes for doing all of them, right? But you don't have to do all of them.
You don't need to do all of them. So I think most people are going to pick and choose. Again, we have a race manual, a virtual race manual as well in our automation. Sign up to that, and you can see the type of personas you're going to be each day. Maybe we'll maybe stick it out on the Zwift Community Live page as well. We'll maybe go in and look at the personas that's coming up in the next couple of days. But sign up to that, and you can see every day the persona is going to be, the stress score that's going to be for that stage, and you're going to be able to see the whole thing. So, but yes. Could be a lot of hard stuff coming up.
So we have Dig Deep Coaching Grad Tour Stage 1 was completed, and you get a TSS score. Wow, 124. If you were actually riding your bike, Stephen, you got a 124 out of this one for a 1 hour.
I'll take that.
That's a pretty intense, or 1 hour and 22 total completed actually. So that was with our warm up in there. We were pedaling away with the warm up too. So that's a solid stress score actually for a 122. You're almost a point on the minute actually. That's a serious effort.
I'm gonna go eat some 3.1 bits of pizza. So that's what I'm gonna do.
After we got such a hard workout commentating
specifically
the workout, we were drinking, sipping our coffee, eating our chicken noodle soup over here is what we were up to. So, all right, guys, if you want to tune in for more of these, we are going to be live with these throughout the Grand Tour. Make sure to follow along over on Zwift Community Live on our Facebook, our Twitch, our Mixer, or YouTube, whatever your favorite viewing platform is. I highly suggest checking out, if you are watching on Facebook or you are watching on YouTube, to head over to our streaming platform. Mixer is our preferred right now as a partnership, but also we are on Twitch. If you hit the follow button over at those places, you do get notifications every single time that we do go live. So those of you who are new to the live streaming world, what's going on with this, coming more from the cycling world, are like, well, where do I find this on a consistent basis so I know anytime that this is live? Head on over to mixer.com/Zwift Community Live. We're live on their front page right now. 140 people watching over there right now. And get in the chat, ask us some questions. We're watching chat all the time with that, and you can jump into the world of live streaming with us and get notifications every time that we go live. If you turn on notifications over there, those go straight to your email or to your app. You can also watch on your app, downloading the Mixer app. Those of you who didn't know, if you have an Android phone and you've been waiting to use Zwift on it, beta has launched on there as well. So make sure to check that out. pretty cool update. I'm going to be using the Android. I'm not an Apple guy, so I've been on Android all along, and I was ecstatic to hear that they released beta just recently.
Cool.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
All right. So we're gonna go watch the Tour de France now, stage 1, and see if we were right.
Yeah, I'm gonna go get my, baguettes and coffee and all that sort of
You're gonna go check out the letter B. You're gonna go see what's going on with the letter B over there.
I'm gonna go. That's basically what I'm gonna do the rest of the day, is check out what that letter B is. Absolutely, yeah, that's main priority.
Main priority. Sounds good, Stephen. I appreciate it, and we're looking forward to tomorrow's stage. Make sure to tune in for that. You guys tomorrow jump on the bike with us for that. All right, Stephen. Thanks a lot. Appreciate the workout today.
Thanks, Nathan.
Yeah, no worries. No worries. We appreciate all that you've done for this virtual Grand Tour. Have a good day.
Cool. Bye-bye.
All right, so that was Stephen Gallagher from Dignity Coaching with the virtual Grand Tour. And we'll be back tomorrow for some more of that out on Zwift. And then the rest of the week, we also got going on this next week. We got a lot going on, actually. A lot of this Tour de France stuff obviously going on. Biggest bike race in the world. So as a cycling platform, we should probably be covering that. But then we're also going to be having the KISS Australia for the Australian market. The Down Under KISS Australia and the eCrit that's ramping up. And then we also have the CHOP racing going on, as well as KISS Europe weekly windup on Wednesdays. All kinds of stuff, man. It's really wrapping up on Zwift Community Live. So look forward to that next week. We'll see you guys tomorrow for some TDF stuff. As always, right on.